So now let's create our macro that will launch the user form. So we'll go to the View menu. We'll go to the bottom portion of the macros command. We'll choose Record Macro. Again, just gives us an easy way to get a jump start there. We'll call this Print dialog box, or we could call it Plug and Print. Going to store it in the personal macro workbook, but if you chose to put this macro elsewhere, then you could put it instead in the workbook that you chose. But I'm going to put it in my personal macro workbook. Shows dialog box for choosing worksheets to print. I click OK. I immediately stop recording because the actions I need cannot be recorded. I'm just using this to set up the macro itself. To get back to Excel, if I'm in the Visual Basic Editor, there is an Excel button that I can click here. Notice I can also press Alt F11 to toggle back and forth. If you are going to work with macros, you'll have a dramatically better experience if you do have two monitors. That way you can have the Visual Basic Editor on one and Excel on the other. But that's not always an option, and so you can just toggle back to Excel here as well. So I want to get to the macro recorder, so I'll go to the View menu, and I can choose that there. If I have the Developer menu shown, there's also a bigger Record button there as well. But in case you've not enabled the Developer menu, we can pull down macros, we can choose Record Macro. Let's just say we call this Plug and Print. We just store it in a personal macro workbook, launches Plug and Print user form. We click OK. So we then immediately want to stop recording. We can either click the stop recording button at the bottom or go back to our record command, which is change to stop recording. We can click there. That stops the recording. Now need to get to our macro there. And we could go find it in the Visual Basic Editor, or if you want to find it through the Excel interface, because it is in the Personal Macro Workbook, we need to go to the View menu, we choose Unhide, we click OK. We can then go to the Macros command on our View menu, choose the macro we created, and then click Edit. So you can get to it that way. I'll also show you how you could find it by way of the module sheet. If you have unhidden the Personal Macro Workbook, make sure that you then in turn go back to the View menu and choose Hide again to hide it back. So what we'll do is we'll go back to Excel, and to unhide our Personal Macro Workbook, on the View menu we choose Unhide. We choose that workbook, we click OK. We can now go to the Macros command, we can choose Plug and Print. Notice I called it Plug and Pring. I'll show you how to fix that typo. So we'll click Edit. So if you goof up the name or want to change the name, just change it in the module sheet. So Plug and Print. The other way that I could have looked for that macro would be to go through my Personal Macro Workbook, double click on each module sheet looking for any code there. Eventually I would have found Plug and Print there. So going through the Excel interface makes it easier to get to it directly. So we're going to click our Excel button to get back to Excel. We don't want to leave this workbook hidden. A lot of folks forget to hide it back. I get emails, how do I make this workbook not appear every time? When it says personal.xlsb, we click the Hide command, and then go ahead in Excel on the Visual Basic Editor and click Save. Go ahead and save the Personal Macro Workbook, so that way that ensures it will then stay hidden. So now that we have our space for our macro here, let's add some functionality. And we just need one line of code here. We'll call it frmplugprint.show. So in this case, we can't use the me keyword because we're not actually in the form. When we're editing the controls in the form, that's when we're able to use the me keyword. But here, Excel doesn't know which object which user form I want to show. So that's why we reference the name of it. Also why we give it a meaningful name. If it said userform1.show, very easy to lose track of what userform1 is. So that's why I name all of the controls there. So we'll call it frmplugprint.show, makes it show it. To make it easier to find this module sheet going forward, I can change the name of the module sheet. I could call it mod launch print dialog or mod plug and print, whatever name that makes sense to you there. So here then, we'll add in our line of code and we'll say frmplugprint.show. Now, just to show you what will happen here, let's say I mistype the name. If I say frmplugpring and I type a period, if I don't get an autocomplete, that means I've probably mistyped the name of my form. So we're going to go back, we're going to replace that G with a T, we type our period, this autocomplete is feedback that you're on the right track here. So there's different things we could do to that form there, different properties we can set. In this case, we're going to set the show command. So frmplugprint.show, we arrow down so this displays the user form. So we need to then go back to Excel again, so we can either do Alt F11 or click our Excel icon.